When you touch me, crazy. I'm crazy the way you love me,
Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Superhuman Radio. It's going to be an interesting show today. We have to look back through history at anabolic steroids. Before they were demonized because of Olympic athletes using them to gain performance abilities and baseball players and so on, anabolic steroids had a place in medicine. One of them was used to treat women with breast cancer. And we're going to talk about the therapeutic side of anabolic steroids. But sadly, many of these anabolic steroids they're withheld by physicians because they don't want to undergo the scrutiny of licensure boards or the DEA or the FDA. And so they're afraid to use them. But they can use them. They definitely can use them. And in fact, when used based on science, they can save lives. And it takes courage for a doctor to take a patient who suffer from cachexia. They're just wasting away, which is the number one killer in cancer and HIV. Isn't the disease itself, although in HIV you do get Kaposi sarcoma, which is a very advanced type of cancer. But it's the wasting of these people that can be completely reversed with sensible use of anabolic steroids. You know, I did my first show about APEDs in 2013 because this doctor who, I can't remember his name, it's a German last name, came on the show. And after interviewing a couple million users of anabolic steroids, he said, by and large, they're appearance-enhancing drugs. Very few people use them for performance, professional athletes, bodybuilders, that sort of stuff. Most people, especially in Hollywood, are using them to get a certain look, to be a superhero. And these drugs are often used very safely. We're not talking about the reckless stuff that we see people on the boards talking about, using ridiculous amounts of drugs. We're talking about therapeutics. And in fact, my guest today, Dr. George Touliatos, is not only an international expert on this, but hopefully he'll share the story of his grandmother, who he extended her life by being brave enough to rely on the science of some of these drugs. So we'll get started with that in just a second. We have to thank our title sponsor, of course, which is Legendary Foods. Legendary reinvented the Pop-Tart. And not only does it taste like real cake, your kids will eat them. They taste so good. Less than 1 gram of sugar, 20 grams of high-quality protein, 4 to 5 net carbs if you are a carb counter like I am. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary. Use the code SHR10. Save 10% off. Let them know that Carl sent you. He's a regular returning guest to my show now. He lives in Athens, Greece. I long to visit him. My good friend, Dr. George Touliatos. How you doing, George?
I'm fine, Carl. Thank you for having me Actually, it's the fifth time, and it's been a while since we had our last show. I think it was July 19. We spoke about also, yeah, the PEDs in sports, but as you well said in the beginning, that steroids were manufactured by physicians in order to treat symptoms and diseases, and not for athletes. The point is, as I said in my books, coaches and athletes understood that in higher doses, so not the medical prescribed, they do have ergogenic effects, okay, or cosmetic effects, as you all well said also, because some of them are used for cosmetics. And as my friend Rick Collins, which is the legal boss, knows, said that 90% of the steroid users are recreational athletes and not professional athletes, simply because it's banned. You know, it's this hide and seek game in the IOC, with IOC and the WADA and USADA. So yes, the steroids have certain implementations. Now we know that the main androgen, which is testosterone, treats hypergonadism. Okay, either primary or secondary. Now you are born with primary testicular failure in common failure, that the boys have small testicles and they appear like women, female external tissues. So they are introduced to testosterone. The karyotype is 7X XXY. Otherwise, we have the Kalman syndrome. That means that the hypothesis we have gonadotropic hypergonadism does not respond, does not generate LH. Therefore, also we need to implement testosterone. Now, the synthetic derivatives of testosterone, the anabolic steroids, and actually we have two classes, either the anabolics or the androgens. Now, the anabolic steroids have anabolic effects to the tissues. They multiply cells. So they can be used in muscle wasting or cachexia, which is the #1 cause of death in elderly people, disabled people, HIV, cancer, but also COVID in the ICU, Well, of course, crashes on testosterone through cortisol, through the stress, because the virus attaches to the testicles, the ACE2 receptors are plenty in men, okay? And also osteopenia, meaning low bone mineral osteoporosis, bone fracture, which is a result of the muscle wasting, because the stronger the muscles you have, the tighter the bones attached to the muscles, and they become strengthened like the feet, okay? And finally, it's the anemia, okay? Because androgens and anabolics EPO, and actually before the synthetic EPO, when erythropoietin was manufactured by physicians, the main treatment was oxymethylone, in aplastic anemia.
Right.
But also in other cases like angioedema with Winchell's, and also is a rare case of infection of the mucosa under the skin. But also off-label nandrolone, testosterone, and lubricate the synovial cavities, and smooth the pain. Doesn't mean that it treats arthritis, but when you have cracky joints because of dryness, then nandrolone or DECA takes aldosterone that retains sodium and water as a result, so it lubricates. And many people state that in 100 milligrams of DECA, that has no significant impact on the lipids or in the liver, I don't have any more joint pain.
And interestingly enough, the amount of nandrolone undecoinate that's required to experience the joint lubricating effects is far less than most bodybuilders will use.
Of course, yes. I believe it's
100 milligrams a week to 150 milligrams a week, along with your testosterone, is more than enough to experience the joint lubricating effects. Yes.
Certainly, yes. I mean, I experienced that between 50 and 100, it's enough when you combine it to TRT. And as you well said, also, my late grandmother, she passed at 108. So she was walking until she was 105. She was using, of course, the brace, how you call this, sticks. Yes.
Yeah, right.
Then she got pneumonia, and then she fell in bed. So we started giving with my sister 100 milligrams of nandrolone every 2 weeks. in order to be able to take her feet, go to the restroom and use it, and for ordinary things. And you could see that her legs were not wasted that much as her torso,
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, she never had a bone fracture in her life, Amazing. And yes,
Well, we actually did a show. There's a show in my catalog
yes.
where while your grandmother, was her name Helena?
Yeah, I mean, she was 108 when she passed, and the last 2
Well,
years.
we did a show because you used some novel approaches to truly extend her life. You extended her life because she was stuck in the hospital and she wanted to get out.
Extensive supplementation, DHA, Q10, ubiquinol, vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc, alpha lipoic acid, all this stuff, DHA, EPA, everything.
So I want to focus. I don't want to go too far down one rabbit hole. So anabolic steroids are effective at treating acute issues, but also chronic issues. Wasn't it Anavar that was created for women with breast cancer, or was it?
Well, actually, for breast cancer, I think it was Dostanol, which is mastone, which is synthetic DHT that does not aromatize. This is very important in breast cancer. It's linked to estrogen, so you need to give something like androgens without aromatization,
Right,
to compensate, right? But I forget something else, burns also, because there are open wounds. So in order to speed up healing, like in the middle of surgery, for instance, you need to give Anavar or Winstrol. And actually, Winstrol has the ability to synthesize collagen. Yes. Collagen.
There's a drug right there that could be given in small amounts. We're talking about therapeutic doses. We're not talking about hundreds of milligrams like bodybuilders and athletes use. In small amounts to a burn victim or post-surgery
rehabilitation,
to speed up soft tissue repair.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to talk about a book called Built to Survive. A lot of people may not be aware of this book. It was a comprehensive guide to medical use of anabolic steroids, nutrition, and exercise for HIV-positive men and women. It was authored by Michael Mooney and Nelson Vergel, who is a friend of mine on Facebook. Right before Dr. Chrysler passed away, Elisa and I were up in Minnesota, and we had the chance to go out to dinner with him and his girlfriend, Valerie. And we sat at an outdoor dinner table. This is a fascinating story. And the guy who was waiting on us was gay. And when he asked what we did for a living, I said, I do a podcast. He says, he runs the website, All Things Male. And he told us the story. He was diagnosed with HIV 12 years before we met him. He was muscular, he was lean, he was fit. And he said, I've been on testosterone and Deca, and he listed all the drugs he takes. He goes, it's the only reason why I'm alive today. Think about this for a second. For those who demonize anabolic steroid because of the misuse and abuse of it, are sacrificing lives of people who are suffering from cachexia, muscle wasting. That includes cancers, that includes COPD, that includes some autoimmune disorders. They could all benefit from doctors applying scientific, therapeutic, science-backed doses of various anabolic steroids. The fact that they're not is because they're afraid of the Barry Bonds effect. Because Barry Bonds cheated, no one can use these wonderful drugs again. But think about this for a second. Humira is a performance-enhancing drug to Phil Mickelson, the golfer. He could never golf without his autoimmune regulating drug. That's in my humble opinion, that's a performance-enhancing drug. It may be not anabolic, but more importantly, right now we have a unique opportunity for doctors. Doctors are able to give women male doses of testosterone so they can transition to become men. That's acceptable. But giving a man who's wasting away androgens to make him more robust and live longer seems to be frowned upon. Isn't this silly, George?
Yes, absolutely. And we have discussed this with Rick Collins. I mean, being a transgender, doesn't mean that you lack of some of the hormone. It's just a perspective, a perception. I'm sorry. So actually, psychiatrists believe it's a mental thing. Don't feel comfortable with your gender. But in bodybuilders, we have a similar case called muscle dysmorphia. That means that the bodybuilders wants to grow. Of course, this is also a wrong perception, but it's forbidden. It's demonized. And he said that testosterone is blamed for the things that it does well and not bad. And actually, testosterone also treats diabetes by building muscle, and muscle oxidize the glucose, oxidizing visceral fat. And as I said before, the steroids are cheap compounds that may substitute in a way statins, metformin, other drugs, that are more expensive. This is not cool for the big pharma, for the sales.
So Dr. Mauro Di Pasquale, the last time he was on my show was several years ago. He came up with a term, and the terminology was the anabolome. We had all of these different these categories of systems that had an effect on our health. And he said that the anabolone has an effect on our health because as long as you remain anabolic, you'll live longer. And that now has been proven in science. I did my first interview in 2006 about the VA, California VA Medical Center, that the strongest men lived the longest, the weakest men died of all-cause mortality. Then they did the study on grip strength. Then they did a study on DEXA scans. And what they found out was women up to the age of 60 and men up to the age of 65, those who had the most lean body mass going into those ages lived the longest and seemed to be resistant to age-related diseases. Think about this. We're all taking supplements and drugs to help us live longer. None of these supplements and drugs have seen long-term human studies to prove they work. The one thing that works in making you live longer is carrying more lean body mass, the noble pursuit of muscle and strength. And anabolic steroids do that. So when will the anti-aging community wise up and go, you know what? If we want people to live longer, we need them to be more muscular and stronger, and we have to go way, way beyond just typical HRT. What do you think?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, longevity clinics and replacement therapy, of course, they are based on testosterone. Testosterone, of course, is anabolic as well, has anabolic properties. And along perhaps with some very progressive clinics that use also GH under GH deficiency when you estimate the IGF-1 and declines after your 50s. Yes, this, of course, can reverse the muscle wasting. But they are afraid of the abuse, Carl, because the bad name was spread through the athletes and the abuse they do, for performance-enhancing effects that lead to the plethora of the side effects. So using wisely and properly under medical prescribed doses, the anabolic androgenic steroids do not have the side effects. The point is they don't become that ergogenic, and so effective in the body composition.
So do you think, how should a doctor approach, if a doctor has a patient that's suffering from cachexia related to cancer or some other disease, and obviously, as D. Wade Perry posted on today's show, and I'm going to try to find it here, he said it's very, very dangerous for doctors to prescribe anabolic steroids because they run the risk of losing their licenses.
Sure. If they do not justify the use of it. But personally, I have been called by colleagues, physicians, because they know that I'm dealing with this field exclusively in Greece. So they have some cases of some friends of them or colleagues or even relatives of muscle wasting due to cancer. And of course, they are blessed in Greece to have testosterone and androlone and mesterolone prescription free in the pharmacy. So I directed them to the pharmacy in order to purchase the medications, you know. So they listened to me, and I told them, of course, they need a high protein, high caloric diet, along with some resistance training, because frankly, there's no other compound that can help to that, chemical compound, right? So apart from supplements. And it's interesting because I was invited by a friend, an orthopedic surgeon, a friend of mine, in a congress of orthopedic, and I asked the chairman who was giving the lecture, can we use nandrolone for bone fractures, but not the bone fractures, you know, the very superficial ones, you know, the periosteum, for instance.
Right.
He said, it's not the option number one, okay? We have other options instead. So nandrolone or the other steroids, they're not the first class of choices, you know, of physicians and medical doctors in order to deal, let's say, with bone fracture, perhaps with low bone mineral density, yes. But there was a case of somebody who had a crash with a motorcycle. They told him, you're going to walk in 2 months. And he was able to speed up this time period in 4 weeks by taking some testosterone, nandrolone, and APED. And the doctor couldn't believe. I mean, there was a miraculous effect, you know.
And you know what's funny? The bone remineralizing drugs that they offer for women, specifically because of osteoporosis and bone fractures, have horrible side effects. A lot of women literally they have bone necrosis in the jaw from some of those drugs, and I can't understand why. They go for.
What I know from physiology is that the nandrolone and the steroids increase the calcium reabsorption in your renal tubules, so it's possible to absorb as long as there are valuable amounts of calciferol, vitamin D3, you know. So you need to have good levels of D3 vitamin, the 125 hydroxy, the active form, in order to suck up the calcium, all right, and in order then to utilize. And actually, muscle wasting, as I said before, is linked to osteopenia because the more loose the muscle tissue, the weaker the bone, you know?
The stronger the muscle, the body makes the
Exactly.
bone stronger. Yeah. So here, Dr. Suzanne Turner has a question. What about oxandrolone? When would you use it over nandrolone?
So listen, oxandrolone has the benefit to be used by females because it has the lowest androgenic activity. That's why in track athletics or in bodybuilding, let's say, Anavar is preferably used by women because it has less virilization effects, hirsutism, acne, clitoric enlargement, main parabolic, hair thinning. But nandrolone, it aromatizes slightly, it kicks more aldosterone. Besides, oxandrolone is a DHT derivative that does not convert to estrogen, so it's a dry compound, unlike nandrolone, that has better effects in low bone mineral density, in arthritis. But if you compare the anabolic index of androlone and oxandrolone, actually Anavar has 330, while DECA has 140. So it's way more anabolic than Anavar. The point is, it does not lead to this bulking effect due to the lack of estrogen and water retention that DECA has, you know?
I've seen some women display blood sugar management issues on 20 milligrams of Anavar a day.
Is that a very good point? Because in women, steroids have the reverse effect than in men. So in polycystic ovarian syndrome, we that have insulin resistance, they also have increased testosterone DHEA. So actually, it's the reverse. And there was a case of a transgender male in my clinic from Israel that there was a girl that wanted to become a boy, you know. He was a bodybuilder also. She was using testosterone. And she asked me, I want to speed up my hirsutism, so I want to grow beard. So I told her, I suggest you to use extra proviron, you know, Sterling from the pharmacy. But I told you, mind your A1C, because it may catch up and climb, and you become insulin resistant, you know, unlike in guys, that steroids and testosterone oxidize the visceral fat, and you treat diabetes by this.
So we have I'm going to try to pronounce his name, so I apologize for butchering it.
Yeah, it's a Greek guy.
Lafridis Chatzoukas.
Yeah.
Okay. Of course, he says, great show, great source of medical information. Then he asks the question, what about testosterone as a drug for insulin resistance and prediabetes? Is that for men? Will it work with men but not women?
John Chrysler said, in the near future, the assessment of diabetes type 2, not type 1, will require a SPTA evaluation in order to see if there's hypogonadism, give testosterone, and improve A1C and insulin resistance. And as a matter of fact, when you're going to use insulin, it says in the enclosed paper, mind that if you are already using anabolic steroids or testosterone, you have to adjust your doses and lower them because your insulin sensitivity is going to go high. Why? Because muscle burn the glucose, the oxidation, they fight glycemia, and also the androgens oxidize and burn the visceral fat that is linked to insulin resistance. The belly fat, you know?
Yeah, interesting. What about visceral fat? Inside the fat. You're talking about visceral fat?
The visceral fat is linked to cortisolemia, to stress, also to dyslipidemia, you know, cardiovascular disease that releases inflammatory cytokines, interleukin 6, TNF. You know, it's not a good thing. It's not a thing that the subcutaneous fat.
We have to take a break, but before we do that, I want to put up this information. So for those of you who are interested in learning more, Dr. Touliatos has a website called steroidmasterclass.com, and it teaches you the basics as well as harm reduction, because that's what we really need here. You know, the recklessness of the bodybuilding community has tainted these drugs. The abuse of these drugs by the professional athletes has tainted these drugs. I don't understand why it hasn't tainted the ADHD medications that all the athletes take too, Ritalin, which is just an amphetamine. It's funny how anabolic steroids got thrown under the bus, but they can still write prescriptions for Ritalin, but that's another story.
It was a steroid boost in 1990 after the Ben Johnson scandal. You know, they had the steroid law.
Right. $98 for 1 year access. It's 2 hours of video tutorials. You can go there. You can learn. I think the harm reduction is probably the most important part of the discussion. Steroidmasterclass.com. Check it out. We have more questions coming in. We're going to have more questions from the audience. We're going to take one quick commercial break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more of Dr. George Touliatos. Are you suffering from signs of an unhappy gut? Diversity is the key to healthy, robust inner ecosystem. Body Ecology probiotic liquids are made by fermenting organic seeds, biodynamic brown rice, and chickpeas together to create a diverse culture found nowhere else on Earth. It's the secret to restoring your gut's microbiome for a healthier digestive tract, improved immune function, and longevity. Take 20% off by visiting the website shrnetwork.biz/bodyeco. shrnetwork.biz/bodyeco. That's BODYECO. And using the code SHR20.
Dogs should be powered by fat and protein, not carbs. That's why Visionary Pet makes low-carb, ketogenic dog food for dogs of all breeds and life stages. From kibble to freeze-dried and even low-carb treats, all Visionary Pet recipes are very low-carb, ketogenic, and made with 100% real meat protein. Shop now and use code SHR for 20% off your first order today. Your dog deserves the lifelong benefits of optimal nutrition. Make the switch to Visionary and see why smart dogs eat low carb.
I would easily say that I am the hugest proponent you will ever meet to doing anything that will improve the quality of my sleep. And that's because sleep is linked to just about every metabolic disorder we see in our population today. One of the easiest things you can do to improve the quality of your sleep is to get a pillow that can be shaped into the exact form factor that allows you to get your best night's sleep. And that is MyPillow. I've been sleeping with MyPillow for a few years now, and I can tell you that when I have to travel and stay in hotels, I don't get a good night's sleep because I don't have MyPillow with me. Right now, you can save up to 60% off of everything offered to improve the quality of your sleep at shrnetwork.biz/MyPillow when you use the code SHR. Or you can call toll-free 800-889-4938. And remember to use code SHR to save up to 60% off of everything at their website. Hey, you've heard me talk about mass enzymes from Bioptimizers for years now. It's a safe and natural digestive enzyme supplement that's for men or women that specifically helps you digest the protein in your diet. I never have a meal without at least 3 Masszyme capsules, and that's because I want every bit of amino acids from the protein I eat day in and day out to help this 64-year-old body continue to build new muscle and strength. Well, I can tell you how you can get a free bottle of Masszymes plus 3 free ebooks as a bonus, total gift worth over $81. You'll not only receive a free bottle of the best digestive enzyme for turning all the protein you eat into muscle-building amino acids, but you'll also receive the book From Sick to Superhuman, Plant-Based Superfood Delights, and the Ultimate Carnivore Cookbook, absolutely free with your free bottle of Masszymes. Take advantage of this opportunity fast because it won't last long. Go to shrnetwork.biz/freemassme, that's FREEMASSME, and see why I will never stop taking Masszyme. Being superhuman means being conscientious about the choices we make. White Oak Pastures is superhuman when it comes to raising livestock. They're committed to animal welfare, land regeneration, and rural revival. They responsibly manage the entire process from the pasture to your doorstep. High-quality, pasture-raised, great-tasting meat from a farm you can trust. Full nose-to-tail selections. They even have options for your pet. Go to shrnetwork.biz/whiteoak and use the code SUPERHUMAN to save 10% off your entire first order. There have been no new innovations in men's underwear for hundreds of years. That's all about to change with Sheath. Sheath creates 2 separate compartments for your man stuff so it doesn't get smashed into a mound and sweaty and stinky. I won't wear any other underwear now that I've learned about Sheath, and you won't either. Go to shrnetwork.biz/sheath underwear. That's SHEATHUNDERWEAR. Use code SUPERHUMAN to save 20% off. I promise you, once you try a pair of Sheath underwear, you will never wear anything else.
This is the Superhuman Channel, doing reps with the weight of the world.
Welcome back. George is texting somebody who's watching
Yes.
this live. All right, so how can a doctor approach this? So let's say a doctor has a patient, and let's say Anavar would be an ideal agent for this person because of muscle wasting, and it's a woman, let's say, so you don't want to virilize her. How do you document the case so that if medical licensure comes to you, can you treat it like a case study? How do you approach this so that you don't lose your license by using a legitimately science-backed protocol that just has some sort of stigma about it?
Well, we have to evaluate the symptoms, what's the problem of the case, the basis, and find out what are the possible treatments, But I believe that in muscle wasting specifically, the number one that comes to your mind is the anabolic steroids, nothing else. Nothing else. I mean, apart from nutrition and physical exercise, the steroids are born to this. That's why they're super effective in bodybuilders under abuse, to grow muscle and tissues. But under muscle wasting, what else can you do? Cortisol has the opposite effect.
Right. So in Mexico, in Greece, I think even in the UK and many other countries, you can purchase testosterone, nandrolone, and even some orals without a prescription. How dangerous could these drugs really be? Do we see people dying from using anabolic steroids in these countries where they're loosely regulated?
In the long term, they have some deleterious effects. In the long run, as Dan Duchaine said, it doesn't kill you in the first place, like potassium, like a stimulant, like insulin, but they established the side effects of the cardiovascular system with the dyslipidemia. Rarely we have the cases with the hepatoma in the liver, perhaps some renal failure with focal segmental glomerulosclerosis. There is almost zero evidence that testosterone leads to prostate cancer. This is debunked by the best in the business, Abraham Mogethaler in Harvard, So the main systems are the liver, the renal function, and the cardiovascular, of course, is the most important. But in the long run, under abuse, under bad lifestyle, under poor living habits, under genetic predisposition as well. Okay, because we carry the genes of our ancestors and our parents, and specimen A and B do not react the same in the same dose. It's also genetic predisposition. Some people have dyslipidemia, others not. Other has diabetes predisposition, and whatever.
Do you think
we could be safe under cautious and under prevention, and cautious use? And this is actually that's the truth. If you use what doctors used to suggest, they're safer
Right.
for us. But of course, they're not super ergogenic. That's the point.
so? Do you think orals are as damaging to the liver as claimed, or do you think that some are less damaging? Dr. Di Pasquale thought that we made way too much nonsense about oral anabolic steroids. What do you think?
Well, the problem with orals, apart from testosterone and the oral testosterone and methanol, which is the primobolan, is that they have been under methylation. So they are 70 alkylated in the steroid molecule. In the point in the Patrick Allen knows that, of course, best, that he's the chemist. So they have been methylated, and this enables them to sustain the liver breakdown, because every compound that goes to the liver is broken down. Either it's amino acid, either it's any chemical or a vitamin. So they are very effective to the liver metabolism. And actually, this is the reason the liver is stressed, trying to break them down.
Right.
But that's why they're so effective. They're not losing their potency, unlike the other steroids that I mentioned. So I guess, yes, we have 70 alkylated steroids. We have methyltrianolone, or M3. We have fluoxymesterone, halotestin. We have the Diana, which is methandrostenolone. We have the oxymethylone, which is the inositol. And then we have stanozolol, the winstrol. And we have the anavar, the oxandrolone. These are the 7 toxic pills, let's say. Of course, anavar is less toxic, leading less to pharmaceutical hepatitis, rather than fluoxymesterone or the halotestin, that is the devil itself, for instance. So yes, Di Pasquale has a point on that. And I have a theory that if you take them sublingually, let them dissolve in the oral cavity and be absorbed by the tiny capillary network, you bypass the first hepatic entrance, and in a treatment, you have less stress. Okay, it's like injecting them, actually. It goes straight to the bloodstream, bypassing the first hepatic entrance to the portal vein from the stomach. And so there are 20% less. And actually, Dave and Luke are reading that,
Right.
And actually, you can verify this by comparing oral or injectable wisdom. And the injectable has less potency than the liquid.
Is that right? That's fascinating.
Yes.
Because I see the medical orthodoxy does not get upset about putting women on hormonally based birth control, which are also 17 alpha alkylated or methylated, and cause the same hepatic stress. And women take that for 15, 20 years. And the doctors say, oh, that's okay. But as soon as you say you want to use an androgen, then it's, oh, no, this is dangerous. It's bad for your liver.
Really? I had no clue about what they're taking for what you said now.
They're taking some of the birth control pills that you could get here in the United States are progestin based, and they're methylated to resist. Yeah, to resist first pass liver degradation. Yes.
Yeah.
And doctors don't, they'll put a woman on that. Boom, 20 years old. Yeah, sure, get on. Don't worry about it. They don't. But as soon as you say, hey, I want to take an Anavar, I want to take this oral androgen, they're like, oh, it'll destroy your liver. But why doesn't it destroy women's livers when they're taking methylated birth control pills?
Well, we know so far that testosterone is not toxic. So hopefully it's not demonized for the liver, for the prostate, for the heart now, eventually. It does not lead to heart disease. Actually, hypogonadism and low testosterone is linked to cardiovascular disease through the dyslipidemia, the visceral fat, and actually testosterone releases nitric oxide that vasodilates the coronaries, And the prostatic cancer is a sign of men with low testosterone. Why? Because also estrogens come to the proliferation of the prostatic tissue. You know, and not just the high androgens. Certainly, testosterone DHT will enlarge the gland, but BPH is something different than cancer.
So Craig, he changed his last name. It says Craig Health now. Okay. He's watching on YouTube. Men with type 2 diabetes and low testosterone levels can benefit significantly from testosterone treatment, according to a study published in Diabetes Care.
This is what Morgenthaler tweeted today.
Right, Dr. Morgenthaler, right?
Yes.
Chris K has a question, also on watching on YouTube. Are there any good muscle-building steroids that do not cause an increase in red blood cell?
Well, theoretically, by the book, I would say that the less androgenic. However, this is debunked because nandrolone is low androgenic, but it's very notorious of treating anemia. So nandrolone is given to women because it has an androgenic activity, let's say 50 to 60. However, it can treat anemia. And my thoughts were that it has to be high androgenic in order to kick EPO, but no. Even low androgens can do that. So I'm sure, but steroids fight anemia, and this is one of the benefits that can lead to erythrocytosis if you abuse them.
There are other benefits to donating blood 3 to 4 times a year.
Yes.
We're going to do a show about it. Just donate blood. That's all. There's actually other benefits. You get rid of a lot of other crap. You know, your body makes clean new blood. Donate blood 3 to 4 times a year. So. Lefteris Chatsukis says, Dr. Herzog, is that how you pronounce it? Herzog,
yes, she's told you, yeah.
Testosterone prevents blood clots in the wrong places and can even dissolve blood clots. What's your opinion? In medicine, we know the opposite.
This sounds kind of progressive because the particular day that Herzog popped that video, I commented to his, and I said the following. First of all, we know that testosterone and all the steroids increase viscosity through elevation of erythrocytes, but also hemoglobin and hematocrit, meaning that the blood becomes thicker, right? Now, steroids, but not testosterone kick, elevate homocysteine. Homocysteine elevates and is linked to deep venous thrombosis and pulmonary embolism.
Right.
So, I'm sorry, but it's not so cool giving steroids, but not testosterone. And of course, also steroids, another thing they do is the increased fibrinogen, which is a clotting factor. But testosterone, Herzog has something very interesting ideas about testosterone. They're very progressive, and perhaps she's right. He is one of the foremost scientists in that. But his book, costs me $250, 500 pages, and I learned some things, that I was not aware of. But of course, say that to a regular internal medicine doctor, he would say, I have no idea about it.
Last question for this segment, and that is from JG. He says, clomiphene citrate may be a relatively safe testosterone booster. That's only in some cases, right? Only in some cases.
The problem with SERMs, Carl, is that the elevated HBG, that also lowers the active testosterone, the free testosterone. Besides the SERMs and clomiphene have some nasty side effects in the mood, but also in retina, may give you blurred vision with retinopathy, So Glycer used to support the very low dose of clomiphene, 12.5. Unlike some bodybuilders that take it up to 300 a day,
Oh, when I use clomiphene as a post-cycle therapy to get my testosterone levels back up, I took 100 milligrams for the first 4 days.
That's a lot.
50 milligrams for the next 4 days, and then 25 milligrams for months. And it did work. It makes you very moody. And now there has even been some, I believe, I stand to be corrected, but there was a study that came out maybe 3 or 4 years ago that tied it to a specific type of cancer, clomiphene citrate.
But to answer the question of Jay, I believe HCG is way more beneficial to kick intratesticular testosterone, ball size and also sperm volume. It makes you feel much better. Chrysler used to support the HCG along with testosterone for steroidogenesis, you know.
And in fact, Chrysler came up with his own protocol that I still use today. It's 125 IUs a day, and that's it. Not the big bolus dose that people.
No, it mimics the natural production. Exactly, the microdose.
Oh, wait a second. So someone said, I did misread this. JG's question says he's talking about N-clomiphene, not clomiphene.
Clomid has two forms: eclomiphene and zuclomiphene. Okay, the one is estrogenic, and then one is anti-estrogenic. But I'm telling you, clomiphene citrate or clomid is not the best option. And actually, in the PCT protocol, my patients feel much better during the first phase of the HCG, and afterwards, when you use clomid and tamoxifen, they have a suppression in the sex drive and the mood, you know. Mm-hmm. Now, the clomiphene kicks the brain, tricks hypothalamus because it lowers the estrogen to the hypophysis. That kicks generates, that kicks late, so it kicks the brain to kick the balls. All right, unlike the HCG that straight kicks the balls. But I believe HCG is much better.
I want to put this up again. We're going to take a last commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about prostate cancer because I have something to contribute to this discussion. I had Dr. Samuel Denmead on my show 2 different times, and he's doing some groundbreaking work in testosterone and prostate cancer. The website is steroidmasterclass.com. Steroid basics and harm reduction, $98 for 1-year access, over 2 hours worth of tutorial videos, all your questions answered. I wonder, can people email you on that website, George?
Yes, they can. Yes, they can. And one lucky candidate will have a free half-an-hour consultation.
Oh, wow. So free half-an-hour consultation. That's very, very nice. So check that out, steroidmasterclass.com. We're going to take one quick commercial break. And when we come back, I'm going to talk about prostate cancer and testosterone. This should be fascinating. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Superhuman Radio. Remember those rectangular toasted pastries you used to love when you were a kid? Well, Legendary Foods has just made them better. The new cake-style tasty pastry is like nothing you've ever had before. With 20 grams of high-quality protein and less than 1 gram of sugar, you'll feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off your purchase of tasty pastries. Now available in cookies and cream, red velvet cake, birthday cake, blueberry, strawberry, brown sugar cinnamon, and hot fudge sundae. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use code SHR10 today. The Hercules pre-workout from Lost Empire Herbs is like no pre-workout you have ever had before. Completely natural formula designed specifically to optimize workouts, provide quicker recovery time, provide adequate nutrition, and get you away from all those no-good, overstimulating pre-workout supplements on the market today. The Hercules pre-workout blend is a mix of extracted natural herbs and mineral pitch. No fake colors, no added flavors, nothing else. Not only will Hercules pre-workout formula help your workouts, but you'll likely discover lots and lots of side effects, beneficial side effects. Go to shrnetwork.biz/lostempire today to learn more. GHKCU is one of the most effective peptides for rebuilding more youthful skin, reversing skin damage, diminishing wrinkles, and tightening loose skin. I personally use Restoracell with GHKCU every day. It's making an undeniable difference in the quality of my skin. Restoracell is fantastic for all types of skin. Now you can order Restoracell and save 25% when you use the code SHR25. That's SHR25. While you may be diligent in your workouts and your diet, don't neglect what people see first and foremost, and that's your skin. Go to shrnetwork.biz/blue and use code SHR25 today. Are you 35 or older? Every year after puberty, your growth hormone decreases sometimes by 50% by the age of 35, and it only keeps going down from from there. This affects everything from making it harder to recover from workouts, sleep, and a general loss of a sense of well-being. It also affects your ability to get and stay lean. BioPro Plus is the first of its kind, 100% non-synthetic alternative to prescription synthetic growth hormone treatments. All the benefits without any of the needles or side effects and 100% safe. Previously only available through doctors, you can go to shrnetwork.biz/biopro, that's BIOPRO, and use code SHR30 for $30 off today.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
You're listening to the Superhuman Channel. Don't hate us because we feel good.
Welcome back. Let's see. We have another question. Just a couple questions here. Craig Hollander. Oh, he changed the okay. So Craig Hollander says, let me get this up here. In a surprising paradox, the male hormone testosterone, generally thought to be a feeder of prostate cancer, has been found to suppress some advanced. Yes. So I had Dr. Samuel Denmead on my show in 2014 the first time. And Dr. Denmead took 30 men who had very aggressive prostate cancers. And what he did was he gave them very large supraphysiological doses of testosterone. He gave them a 600 milligram dose, and then they watched their testosterone levels wane away until they had little testosterone left in their body. And what happened was, over the course of the study, the most aggressive prostate cancers corrected themselves. Now think about this. He cured prostate cancer with testosterone, which is exactly the opposite of what most doctors do or think. Now, he did another study with 200 men and found the same results. But here's the magic, in my humble opinion. As men get older and fatter and more testosterone is siphoned off to estradiol, they lose the daily pulse. Their testosterone levels look like this, very low, very, very shallow. They stay down here all the time. That pulse that usually happens at 6 a.m. in the morning and then drops throughout the day actually keeps your prostate healthy. That and orgasms, by the way. So you're right. Denmead is reversing the most aggressive prostate cancers by giving men large doses of testosterone, 600 milligrams in one shot, which I do weekly. And then he lets them go for a month and a half, 2 months, until there's nothing else left. And just for the record, few people, except maybe Dr. George, know that the pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics of testosterone cypionate is 28 days. 50% of the dose is released in the first 4 days. The other 50% of the dose trickles into the blood over the next 24 days. So doctors are confused. They think when they give a man 200 milligrams of testosterone, he's getting that whole 200 milligrams in a week. No, not working that way. But anyway, have you seen Dr. Denmead's work, George?
Yeah, I mean, I want to say that Morgenthaler supports the saturational theory of the androgen receptors, meaning that if you saturate the receptors with an OD of testosterone, then there's no more space left for the androgens to go and sit and occupy the receptors, so it's not assimilated. Mm-hmm. Okay, the point is, I had no idea that you need to abuse 600 milligrams. I thought this was around 2 to 50, let's say. And then when testosterone drops, they upregulate the receptors like a flower, they open up again, searching for androgen, But when you abuse, then you block them, you saturate them, and there's nothing else to be absorbed.
Yeah, but he was using supraphysiological levels of testosterone. And keep in mind, in 28 days, it's gone. So after 28 days, you have no testosterone for a period of time, and then they give you another shot. You can, in my humble opinion, my uneducated opinion, you can simulate this by just giving people a very short-acting testosterone on a daily dose, like maybe what is it? What is it?
Propionate 25.
Propionate, yeah. Every other day, give him a shot, because then it spikes and it trails off. It spikes and I even asked him the first interview, have you experimented with propionate? He said we can't, and he gave me some reason that they can't, because it's not a accepted form of testosterone for testosterone therapy.
Really?
Yeah.
It's sold in a pharmacy in Italy. As a matter of fact, I have a patient, 60-year-old guy from the States, that he was diagnosed with stage 2 prostatic cancer. He's a bachelor. He's sleeping with women half of his age. And he said, I'd rather live 5 years and, be the luckiest cat on the planet and sleep around, rather than feeling miserable like my brother, who's 60-year-old overweight without having sex and married. But he's taking Testosterone, which is the Avodart, which is the
steroid. Yeah, right.
It's a very potent 5-A reductase inhibitor that blocks 1 and 2 receptors in the scalp and the prostate. And actually, if you abuse this, it can literally castrate you.
Oh, so, yeah.
Yeah, it's keeping the PSA under control. He does regular blood tests twice a year, His urination is perfect. His libido is good with 100 milligrams. He checks also his estrogens, because, Carl, if you block the one metabolite, the other raises. So if you block the E2 is going to go high. And your doctor said that initially when you block DHT, the PSA goes down. But after a 6-month continuous use, the elevated estradiol will have an impact on the proliferation of the gland. So you need to balance all the hormones.
Interesting.
Yes.
That's interesting. I was told that, finasteride has a Chrysler told me that you should never take finasteride because it has like a 10-year half-life or something ridiculous.
Yeah, the post-finasteride syndrome. Yeah, if you cut it, if you stop it, you feel horrible. The withdrawal symptom, and you feel frustrated. Depression and lack of sex drive. Gynecomastia also, because DHT is androgen.
Right. Let's promote your brand, your book one more time. Your website here. For those of you who want to learn more, you can go to the website is steroidmasterclass.com. Steroid basics and harm reduction. It's $98 fee for 1 year. It includes over 2 hours of tutorial videos plus a half-hour consultation, which you can email George on the website to learn more about. And looks like we have one more question. Let's see if we can get it up here. Oh, yeah. Accutane is horrible. You know what? My oldest daughter, let me get this up here. It's not, I'm having for some reason, the banners aren't going away like they're supposed to. I have a daughter who had something called acne vulgaris. And these are cystic acne. It's very, very sad for a girl. And a doctor wanted to put her on Accutane. Accutane is horrible. It actually stays in your liver for a very long time. If you get pregnant shortly thereafter, you can actually have mutations in your baby. Vitamin A, real vitamin A, 50,000 IUs of retinol a day. One study
retinoic acid, yes.
One study showed it was safe to the liver for 5 months, 50,000 IUs a day. Completely gets rid of cystic acne.
I'm taking 25,000.
Yeah, okay. And more importantly, once the liver gets all the vitamin A it needs to store, the cystic acne never comes back. I would take real vitamin A before I take Accutane.
Another nasty thing about Accutane is it dries the synovial membranes, and you shouldn't join with stenozol because it cuts down aldosterone. So you have dry mucus, and the synovial joints are really risky to get toasted your joints,
Yeah, I was just going to say, the synovial capsules in your knees, if they dry out, you're going to have knee problems.
Because it cuts off all the sebum and it dries out, So it's really nasty on the joints as well if you combine it with Winstrol.
Thank you to everybody who participated in today's show. Thank you to Dr. George Touliatos for making time to be on the show all the way from Athens, Greece. One of these days, I'm going to get to visit him. One day. I don't know when. All right, George. Take care, brother. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Carl. Bye-bye.
We have a show tomorrow. I don't know what it is. Elisa knows because she books all the shows, but I don't know. But thank you very much. Share this show. You never know who you're going to help. And we'll see you tomorrow with more Superhuman Radio. Stay strong.